Kennywood is my home theme park, and I've been going there ever since I was a kid. Over all that time, I've developed very strong opinions about the coasters here. So here's my ranking of all of the Kennywood roller coasters. This one is obvious. It is a super tiny coaster that I haven't ridden in over 3 years, and the only reason why I rode it then was because it was with my little cousin. It's fine for a kid's ride, but in my opinion it barely even constitutes as a coaster. The racer is fine, but not great. It has the racing element in theory, but the same side wins 99% of the time. There's a little bit of airtime, which is nice, but honestly it's not much compared to the other coasters. There's also not a lot of speed, and the turns aren't that fun on the ride. Overall, I think it's a good historic coaster, but it's pretty terrible compared to every other ride at Kennywood. The Exterminator is an inside Wild Mouse coaster, which is an interesting spin on a classic ride. See what I did there? Spin, Wild Mouse. Never mind. I like the audio and the animatronics, and I think it's a really unique experience for Kennywood, as the only other thing that really has audio and animatronics is the Old Mill and Ghostwood Estates, both of which aren't that good. And I also really like all of the theming in general. It's my favorite Wild Mouse coaster out of all the ones that I've been on, but honestly, that's not a high bar, considering Wild Mouse coasters aren't the highest quality normally. I really like during Halloween they turn all of the lights off, or at least they did last year, and I think that really added to the aesthetic of the ride. I love the spinning of the ride, but sometimes it's a bit too much. It can make people dizzy, and I think that's a real big downside. The little hills are pretty good for a Wild Mouse, but they're not incredible compared to other things that this park has to offer. Everyone always seems to love the Thunderbolt, but honestly, I don't really get all of the hype. I like how it pushes you to the side whenever you're riding on those little turns. I think that's a lot of fun, but the hills are not really that good in my opinion. The only good part of the ride, like I said, is how it pushes you to the side, and other than that, I think it's not nowhere near the best hills in Kennywood for rides. I think the airtime is pretty good, but not even the best of a wooden coaster in this park. I think that the ride is still pretty good, but it's not great, and it's super overrated. The Skyrocket is so much fun in the first third of the ride, but honestly, once you get past the first little bit, it just feels like an absolute chore. I love the launch in the first few loops, but the entire second half of it is basically just turning from side to side for what feels like an eternity. Apparently at one point this ride had VR goggles that you could wear during the ride, but I never got to experience that, so I'm not sure how much it would have added to the experience. I feel like it would have been fun, but I don't really know. I never got to experience it. I'm glad that Kennywood has at least one launch coaster, but honestly, this launch coaster doesn't even compare to any of the other launch coasters that I've been on. The Jackrabbit is by far the best wooden coaster in the park. I love the sensation that the double dip gives you, and I believe it's truly a one-of-a-kind experience. I think it's either the only double dip coaster in the world, or it's one of two in the world. I can't remember which one it is. But the ejector airtime that this ride gives you is absolutely unmatched for any wooden coasters that I've ever been on. And I think it's the most deserving ride to have been given an Ace Landmark Award at this park. I think it really deserved it. This is the one wooden ride at the park that I always try to incorporate into my day, regardless of the line, and I think it's also the best beginner coaster in the park for new kids. However, nothing on this list even comes close to how awesome the top two rides are. The Steel Curtain has the most inversions of any coaster in North America, and it also has the tallest inversion in the world. I absolutely love the lift hill of this coaster, offering you great views of the Pittsburgh area while playing the Steelers' walkout song Renegade, which gives such great anticipation while you're going up the hill. The loops on this ride are pretty good, with my favorite one being the one that goes over the lake, which may or may not have inspired the Mosasaurus roll-on Velocicoaster at Universal. I don't think it did. However, I do think that this ride looks a lot more intimidating than it actually is. I was able to ride this ride a few times before the multi-year closure, and my first time I got off it this year, my first thought was that the ride was not worth that long of a wait. I was around 8 or 9 when I rode it last, so I might have been remembering it cooler than it actually was. It's still an amazing ride, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't come anywhere close to the #1 spot, and it's not all bark and no bite, but it's a lot more bark than it is bite. The Phantom's Revenge is the best ride in the park by a long shot. I love the height, speed, airtime, everything. It has unmatched thrills in this park, and I personally believe it to be in the top 5 roller coasters I've ever ridden, and I've been to quite a few parks. I'm so very glad that I'm able to have this ride in my home park, and I've been able to ride this ride around 100 times, possibly a lot more. I can still remember my first time riding this ride, screaming at my dad because I didn't want to ride it. But by the end of the ride, I wanted to ride it again. That's how good it is. It got me over my fear of roller coasters, and I think that's awesome. The only downside to this coaster is that at the end, the airtime hills can hurt a little bit, similar to Magnum XL at Cedar Point, but honestly, that's a small price to pay for the rest of this coaster. It's an insanely good ride for a small park like Kennywood, and it honestly carries Kennywood's modern coaster lineup. Not carries, but it's clearly the best in it. Thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe, and also let me know your list down in the comments. Have a great day.